celebrating our 25th birthday this year, so it's a big year where we look back on a lot of success, and I think we've built up a lot of momentum, growth momentum for the future. In this particular period, this first half of 2023, we were able to increase our revenue by 16% on the back of 3% of learner growth. That in turn aided a 36% increase in our recurring headline earnings for this period over last year. And then I think other key aspects, which I think is really been really good, and is the issue of if we look at our accounts receivable, we saw really positive improvements in both all of the key matrices of outstanding amount, average value outstanding, aging, the level of provisioning required. And that's despite what is a very taxing and challenging consumer environment following 5% of interest rate increases since the first half of last year, never mind the pressure on consumers from energy and food inflation and fuel costs and the like. So I think that was very good. And then also pleasingly, we were able to increase our operating margin by about 1.7% from just over 15% to 17% for this period.
Speaking of that consumer environment, over the past week or so, we've had a lot of the listed banks, the likes of Standard Bank, ABSA, Nedbank, give us a picture in terms of the pressures that consumers are feeling, especially when it comes to the demand for credit. What are you seeing from a school side when you look at how parents are dealing with the pressures?
There's definitely pressure, and I think I mentioned we saw 3% of growth in learners, and that could well have been much higher if we didn't have to terminate non-paying and kind of long outstanding accounts. So the pressure is certainly coming to bear on families. I do think we are swimming a little bit against the stream in terms of our financial performance because of the payment discipline and processes that we've implemented over the last 2 years, really. So I think by and by, it's tough out there. We certainly have seen, if we look at the level of enrollments in our business, a sustained flight to the quality of the education that we offer. But yeah, it's tough out there.
One of the things, especially when we look at the space that you're in, given the environment, we tend to see a lot of, parents make the decision to immigrate. Are you seeing the number of learners who leave your schools as a result, or rather as a reason, when it comes to immigration going higher? How are you seeing things when you look at that particular figure?
It's a question we get often. In our portfolio, if I look at last year, for instance, we had nearly 800 learners leave due to immigration. Now, that's a material number and a concerning number, I think, for us as South Africans in general, because it suggests that we are losing potentially all sorts of skills from our economy. But that being said, I think this year's number is less than half of what that number was for the same period. So difficult. I mean, I'm not sure that there's a particular trend there. But it is, I think, as a South African, it would concern me greatly that talented South Africans are moving elsewhere.
I want to go back to the conversation we were having around, what parents are experiencing in terms of pressure. What's your overall debt collection process? Because one of the things that came out in talking with the banks was that, they do their very best to make sure that consumers keep their homes and they have their cars, even though there's a lot of pressure. What does it look like on your side? What's the line that you draw when it comes to outstanding fees?
Yeah, I think the biggest shift over the last maybe 2 years for us has been to say, well, if you for a sustained period of time cannot afford the fees, we can't keep providing our service to you. So we ostensibly have more regular moments during a year where we may terminate accounts if there's no payment whatsoever. Of course, we do so with a lot of grace and a lot of empathy to families, and we try and work with people to get them through potentially challenging moments. But I think that decision to terminate accounts if there's no payment, it does to some extent drive the payment culture that we see.
When you look ahead at the next 6 months, what does it look like for you? What are you working on? And perhaps you can give us a little bit more color in terms of where capex is going to be directed.
Yeah, I think we've spent, if I start with the capex question, we spent 312 million in the first half of the year, and we've indicated that we'll spend as much as 800 million for the full year. So much work ahead for us in the second half of the year to build classrooms and refurbish and add facilities, sports fields and the like. I think if I compare that to the last maybe 2 years, and each year our capex was well over 1 billion. And so Curro has reached a moment where we are generating more cash from our operations than what is required to maintain and refurbish the existing operations, which I think is good news for shareholders. That gives us more opportunities to enhance returns for them. Insofar as the second half, I think we expect a reasonably balanced distribution of earnings for the year. Without forecasting the future, and I think we've obviously got a large group of matrics who will be sitting their exams. We wish them well, and we're looking forward to an exciting and a busy second half in our business.